here. In terms of like, I mean, we've had really good cards, right? Like 253 was one, 251 was one, where like there was, there's a lot of title fights and all that stuff. But I feel like with a card like this, there's not, three title fights, four title fights like there is for like a couple cards. But I feel like there's just the stakes in this one are so high, and there's no stakes higher than the main event. Habib Nurmagomedov versus Justin Gaethje. Habib is undefeated, and I'm gonna agree with our co-host of this episode, Sam Alvey. I think he's the greatest lightweight of all time. I don't think anybody beats him. I mean, you can argue maybe he's not there yet. I mean, but I'm not sure who you'd put above him. I mean, maybe Prime BJ Penn was a bad motherfucker, but like, man, Habib, I don't see him losing to any lightweight in history, and I just think he's 28-0. He said he's probably going to retire 30-0, and maybe his plans have changed after his dad has passed away. Obviously, he passed away earlier this year due to COVID, horrible circumstances. But he's back, first time since UFC 242 in September, back in Abu Dhabi. He's taking on Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje, one of the most entertaining fighters in the sport, a guy who's improved spades. I mean, ever since he lost, Eddie Alvarez was a tough fight, but even then, he lost to Poirier right after that. He's just adapted a bit more of a new style, man. I mean, he just looks so sharp. He's not really going out there and just throwing caution to the wind all the time. He's still a very entertaining guy, but he uses a lot more head movement. He's a lot more calm in there. And I think he's one of those guys that is better without a crowd, honestly, because he just doesn't let himself – he's an entertainer, and he doesn't let himself get caught up too much in the theatrics. And you saw it against Tony Ferguson, becoming the man to knock out Tony Ferguson for the first time in like 12 fights. And he moved to 22-2. He's the interim champion. Angel, I'll throw it straight to you, man. Do you think that Justin Gaethje pulls off the impossible and shocks the world Saturday night?
I've been ballsy with my picks this year, like very ballsy. Compared to last year, I think I was very, very safe, and it's worked out sometimes this year, and it hasn't at all this year. But man, the big thing is it's always gonna be question marks to go into the Habib fight, and we know now at this point it's like can the takedown be stuffed? We know Habib uses the cage. We know you need to stay center of the octagon with him. You need to make the fight in the middle, and you need to be on him, and you gotta be that striking guy. You can't allow it to ever reach the ground. You can't allow him to lock your legs on the ground and let him work and allow for any ground pound to happen. And the thing is, we've never seen Justin wrestling ever, except once in this over all his fights. I think maybe he's ever really used it. And that's the thing, dude. We don't know, and I think that's like for Habib. I'm sure that's gonna be like, and I'm sure maybe Habib he either has two mindsets. It's like it doesn't matter. I'm gonna go out there and do my thing, or he's still gonna do his thing, but he's like, I don't know. I know he has it in the back pocket, but I don't know how he's gonna deal with it. You know what I mean? Or how successful he'll be with it, right? And then for Gaethje, I mean, according to him, it's like, oh yeah, you guys don't know what's coming. So that's the big thing for me, because we don't know what's coming. We don't know if Gaethje really has that super defensive wrestling style he says he does. And the story that he brings up is the Jordan Burroughs dude. No one stops those Jordan Burroughs double leg takedowns, and apparently he stuffed multiple of those in their two bouts they had in wrestling. So if that is true, Justin has some good stuff going for him, and I'm right. And this has I love the America, Russia like versus thing. It's like such a big, like I think that's such a good storyline. I know they're not pushing like it, but guys are always be like, oh, American versus Russia, got to go for the American guy, if you're in the U.S. So I think that's a big deal too. But I mean, man, if there was anybody doing in the division now, I mean, I guess, and it wasn't Tony Ferguson. I mean, Justin Gaethje is another good bet, and we'll have to see, dude. I think I'm gonna pick Justin, dude, and maybe he does it, maybe he doesn't. It's not like I told you, it's not the safe pick. Habib's definitely 100% the safest pick here. If you had to bet your life on it, you bet Habib. But something, gonna have fun and go Gaethje.
Go Gaethje. I kind of gave it away earlier when I said I don't think Habib loses to any other lightweight ever, and I'm gonna stay with that. I think. Gaethje obviously has the wrestling pedigree, right? He was a great wrestler in college, and that's something that gets brought up a lot. But you don't really, sometimes that doesn't translate. And it's he rarely looks for takedowns. Nobody ever goes for takedowns against him either. Here's the thing about Habib though. People always just act like if Habib can't get it down, he's gonna be screwed. there's so much more that goes into Habib's game than just getting to the fence and getting a takedown, man. He can shoot in the open too. He just doesn't prefer to do that. He's a hard right hand, and he sets up the takedowns amazingly well too. And whenever he sets up those takedowns, it sets up the right hand, and he hits really hard. So listen, I'm gonna go Habib here. I think Habib stops him. I don't know whether it's gonna be early or late, but I don't see Justin being able to stop the takedowns. I went back and I watched a couple of his World Series of Fighting fights because I know that he fought some more grapplers over there than he has in the UFC. I mean, he hasn't fought a single grappler in the UFC. I mean, Tony was, but he was not. He's not a guy who shoots for takedowns. He just, if you get into the clinch with
The
him, he's gonna
Minari
go for
roll. The
some crazy.
Minari roll.
Imanari roll, yeah. But yeah, like I just don't see him being able to stop the takedowns. It's unfortunate because I think Justin's his whole career arc has been amazing, but man, I think after this, man, Habib. I think this cements it. I think this cements him as the greatest lightweight ever. Because there's so much you could say about Habib. But listen, if you look at his resume, Poirier, McGregor, Iaquinta, Barboza, Johnson, Dos Anjos, and then just a bunch of others as well. So I think that's going to cement him as the greatest lightweight of all time. So yeah, but moving on to the co-main event, we have some championship implications here as well, just albeit not with an actual title on the line. The winner of this fight is going to get a title shot. Robert Whittaker versus Jared Cannonier. Whittaker back, making the quick turnaround. He fought in late July, picking up the win against Darren Till. It was a really close fight. Before that, he lost his title to Israel Adesanya. But before that, man, he was on one of the greatest middleweight streaks we've seen in a long time. Beat Brad Tavares, Uriah Hall, Rafael Natal, Derek Brunson, Jacko Ray, Yoel twice, and he ended up securing that championship belt in the Yoel fight the first time around, defended against him one more time before losing it to Adesanya. Jared Cannonier, on the other hand, one of the greatest stories I think we've seen in a long time. Former heavyweight, started off in the UFC at heavyweight, moved down to light heavyweight, ended up beating Ian Tuiatalaba, beat a couple other guys as well, lost to Glover Teixeira, lost to Jan and Dominic, and after he lost to Dom Reyes, man, he moved down to middleweight, and he's been a monster ever since. 3 knockouts in a row to set up this potential championship title shot he would get if he beats Whittaker. Knocked out David Branch, knocked out Anderson Silva, and knocked out Jack Hermanson. And Jack Hermanson, that wins age super well. So, who do you got in the co-main event?
Man, this is a tough one, man, too. Dude, Jared Cannonier, dude, the cannon in his, there might be, those gloves might be stuffed, man. We need to check those before the fight, man. It's scary. The raw power. I mean, it's like he carried it from heavyweight down to middleweight, dude. It doesn't make any sense how he did it, dude. It's insane. This is a scary fight for Robert because of the style, the come forwardness, and Jared, just the fact that he has that power and can put him out cold real quick. I'm curious to see how Robert goes about it because it might not be the smartest thing to just come at him head first and just go for it full send against Jared Cannonier because that's probably not gonna work. Because if he lands one on you, it's gonna hurt, and that's not gonna be a good time for him. And the thing is, that's really what Jared needs. Just needs him to kind of overcommit, and take the hit. And we saw with Izzy, dude. Izzy, especially with that distance management and anything, just he did it to him light. If Izzy had that Jared Cannonier power, it could have been a lot scarier time for Robert, and it could have gone down a little bit quicker. And it's not to say Izzy doesn't have power, because it's actually something that is a big surprise about Izzy, but we're not talking about Izzy right now. We're talking about Jared Cannonier. And, man, I feel like I'm going to pick Jared, man. If Robert fights that style of fight, where he comes forward, takes some damage and gives it back, it's going to be, the biggest downfall of him in this fight. Granted, if he doesn't do that and, fights a smarter fight, picks his battles a bit more, I think he'll find a lot more success, and he could win it. But I'm gonna pick Jared if Robert does decide to fight that style, which I think if he stays true to himself, that's what he'll do. But if he adapts and he's a smart guy, he won't.
Yeah, I don't wanna kind of be like overzealous in picking Jared Cannonier, but I'm going to because I'm not trying to like disrespect Robert Whittaker. Is the point I'm making here. I know that he's a former champ, but I really think I thought he should have won that Till fight way more than he did. You know what I mean? I feel like he's just a guy that he's been through a lot, and he's been through a lot in terms of wars. moving up and down in weight classes, and just he's been through a whole lot, man. And he's done with a lot of injuries as well. And he's facing a guy, Jerry Cannonier, who is probably well aware. I mean, the dude, he's 36. He doesn't seem like he would be, but he is 36, and um, he needs to get that championship shot, and I think he knows that because God knows how much time he has left in the sport because he started relatively late. I think he's going to go in there. I think he's going to get that title shot. I think he's going to knock out Robert Whitaker, and that's going to be really sad as a Whitaker fan. We saw that man live whenever he was on the come up, and I really think I think this is what Cannonier's moment, man. He's in the co-main event. He's fighting a style of guy like Whitaker who blitzes in, and I just don't see him being able to blitz in